This is the case of The Golden Idol, a detective game set in the 18th century revolving around a series of gruesome deaths. The game overanalyzer, in his video titled How Video Games Create Meaning, says that meaning in games is codependent on the player and the creator. An example of this comes from the game September 12th, in which the player tries to eliminate terrorists without civilian casualties, as that worsens the terrorist problem. The author wants the player to see that tampering in foreign affairs is often not only wrong, but actually worsens the problem. I feel that it is actually a better showing of strategic timing and learning patterns to save as many lives as possible, showing that the player's meaning can be different. Is a game truly a game if the player has no agency, or is that a movie? We'll come back to that later. Now back to the case of the Golden Idol. The mechanics of the game are simple. There are two different modes, exploring mode and thinking mode. Exploring mode is a point-and-click style of minigame in which the player must look around the game space to find clues like names, dates, and possible causes of death. Thinking mode is where you have designated spots to put the clues found into easy-to-digest cards, and it tells you if you're right or wrong. You could switch back and forth between the modes to keep gaining information and context clues. In the first chapter, second story, you enter a bloodied room with a man dead on the bed. There's a window, and you could see a horse running by. There's blood going from the door to the man. All around you are clues that you could find names, locations, and possible causes of death. There's a book on lead poisoning hanging from a shelf next to a rickety ladder. Their words, not mine. As you continue looking, you realize that all the answers in the room are red herrings, and the entire story revolves around the coat the man is wearing and the horse. Here's my question to you, the viewer. Did I change the story in any way? Did I have any control over the man, his actions, or could I have prevented his death? More on this later. This game is author-focused narration, where the player gains insight into the story through playing and interacting with the world around them. The player has very little agency, and when it comes to what you can do in your game. In fact, the story has already been completed, and it's the player's job to figure it out. There's no way that the player can create change. There is no morality to consider on the player's end. Any issues that arise are the direct result of the creator. The player does not directly condemn or accuse the ones responsible for the death, nor does the player condone it either. We are simply bystanders in this viewing experience. Does that make the player implicit in these actions? If you stop playing and don't read any more of the stories, to the player, nobody dies. Everything stops. Is that how games are supposed to be? Just outlines of events that the player pieces together and has no control over or in the actions that take place?